So what if the secret to learning a new language isn't actually hidden in some dusty old textbook, but in a really good laugh? Today, we're going to break down a teaching method that systematically brings humor into the classroom to take on one of the biggest hurdles in education: plain old fear. And this question, it gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? When you're learning a new language, the fear of sounding silly or just getting it wrong can be completely paralyzing. It builds this invisible wall around students, what some experts call a high affective filter. And you know what? That wall can be the single biggest roadblock to making any real progress.
You can really see the difference here, right? It's like two totally different worlds. Over on the left, you've got that quiet, high-stress room where everyone's terrified of making a mistake. But on the right, well, that's a space where messing up is just part of learning, and active, joyful engagement is just how things are done.
So how do we get to that laughing classroom? Well, the answer we're digging into today is the Learning English by Laughing method, or LEL for short. It's a really structured way of using humor to tear down that wall of anxiety, which, it turns out, is the key to boosting both motivation and memory. And look, this isn't just about the teacher telling a few jokes and calling it a day. Nope. The LEL method is actually a serious framework for fun, and it's all built on 3 core dimensions that create this powerful, start-to-finish learning experience. And these 3 stages, they're probably going to look pretty familiar to any teacher out there. You've got the warm-up, the main lesson, and the wrap-up. It's a classic structure, just totally reimagined. Let's dive into the first one and see how it works. All right, first up, the warm-up. The whole goal here is to create this awesome, positive vibe right from the get-go, setting the stage so that learning can actually happen. And you got to understand, this isn't just some filler time to kill before the real lesson starts. No way. These first few minutes are absolutely crucial for waking up students' brains, setting the right expectations, and immediately starting to tear down those psychological walls. And the techniques they use? They're so creative. Agreements for laughter sets ground rules so all the humor is positive and supportive. Laughter vowels uses these physical chants, like ja, je, ji, to get students moving and literally warm up their voices. And yes, you heard that right. Even memes become a totally legit tool for teaching something like grammar in a way that everyone gets instantly. Okay, so now we get to the heart of it all, the main lesson. This is where students really get their hands dirty with all the new information and practice their skills. But they do it through activities that feel a whole lot more like play than work. The activities in this stage are just so smart because they're both fun and effective. Using funny noises can actually teach listening skills. A crazy microphone that changes your voice makes speaking in front of everyone way less scary. In a puppet show, it becomes this amazing, low-stakes way to practice dialogue and play around with grammar. And the thinking behind this is really deep. It's not just about language. As the researcher Cardenas points out here, the goal is to build language skills while also dealing with the psychological side of learning. Reducing anxiety and encouraging positive, collaborative values. It's the whole package.
I mean, check this out. A technique like Funny Diversity Day. This is a perfect example of how you can use humor to tackle some really important social and emotional stuff. Instead of a boring lecture, students might share a funny story about a family tradition. It builds real empathy and respect because they're sharing a moment of joy, not just listening to a lesson on tolerance.
All right, and that brings us to our final stop, the wrap-up. This is where we look back at what everyone's learned, but, and this is key, it's done in a way that turns assessment from something stressful into something to celebrate. You see, the motivation doesn't just stop when the lesson ends. The wrap-up is all about making sure that learning actually sticks and that any feedback is always positive and encouraging. It builds students up for whatever's next. So yeah, you can just forget about the dreaded pop quiz. Instead, you've got a game with a lucky balloon that makes answering review questions feel like you're winning a prize. Funny feedback stamps can make corrections feel like encouragement. And honestly, who wouldn't want to get a Mr. Bean video for homework? And you know what's crazy? We've really only scratched the surface here. The entire LEL framework is this huge toolkit with 22 different techniques, every single one designed to make learning engaging and, well, actually work. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The LEL method is so much more than a few fun games. It's a smart, structured system that deliberately turns something as simple as laughter into one of the most powerful teaching tools we have. And that really leaves us with this one last big idea to chew on. In our big push for serious academic results, what if the very best tool to get there isn't serious at all?